Alright guys, in today's video I wanted to talk about how Hunter, no. Alright guys, in today's video I wanted to talk about Hunter Labrada's chances of competing and possibly winning the 2020 Mr. Olympia this December in Las Vegas if he was able to win at this weekend's 2020 Tampa Pro. So if you guys are interested, make sure you guys stay tuned. Alright guys, quick admin note. I am doing a giveaway over on my Instagram, so make sure you guys check that out if you guys are interested. Link in the description. And if you guys are new, welcome, but that's it. Let's get back to the video. Alright guys, like I said, in today's video I wanted to talk about Hunter Labrada and his chances of competing and possibly winning this year's Mr. Olympia if he's able to win at this weekend's 2020 Tampa Pro. Now, with Hunter being the favorite to walk away with the win at this weekend's 2020 Tampa Pro in the open class, some people have made the connection that with the current travel restrictions, that would set up Hunter Labrada to potentially get into the top 6 at his very first Mr. Olympia, or even potentially win this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia. Now, this all is going to depend on if Hunter can win this weekend at the 2020 Tampa Pro and then take the remainder of this season to either put on a little bit more size or maintain conditioning. Now, that is a long time, so I'm assuming he's going to hop back into a small cycle, put on maybe a little bit of muscle if he can, and then prepare for the 2020 Mr. Olympia coming into his first year of competing. This also completely relies on if international competitors are not able to compete at this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia. Specifically, 3 out of the top 6 from the 2019 Mr. Olympia will not be competing if the travel restrictions continue. Most notably William Bonac, Hadi Chupin, Rolly Winkler, Lucas Osledal, and of course R.I.P. Luke Sandeau. I think it's also important to point out if the travel restrictions continue, people like Big Ramy won't be able to compete. And also it's important to note that we're probably not going to see Phil here, we're not going to see Kai Green, and we probably are not going to see Sean Roden. So that's a lot of competitors that we potentially will not see at this year's Mr. O. And obviously this is going to be a very far-fetched video. A lot of things have to line up for this outcome to happen. But if those conditions do stay true, this would really leave the top 6 open for people, not exactly in the specific order, but you could potentially see the top 6 look like Brandon Curry, Dexter Jackson, Steve Kuclo, Cedric McMillan, and also you could have Hunter Labrada sneaking in to that top 6. Also, you could have people like Akeem Williams and Patrick Moore that are pretty hot this year. And also if Juan Morel comes in shape like he did last year at the Arnold Brazil, if he's able to bring that level of conditioning to the 2020 Mr. Olympia, there's a good chance that he could sneak into this top 6. But let's get into exactly why you clicked on this video. Could Hunter Labrada compete and win this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia? Now, typically, most Olympia level competitors, if they have a good off season, they could put on either between 3 to 5 pounds of stage weight. And if we're thinking about how their conditioning was last year, if they can bring that or even potentially worse conditioning, this would be my prediction for the top 4 at this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia, given that all the circumstances that I've mentioned earlier stay true. And now let's bring up the comparisons from the right to the left. Brandon Curry, the reigning and returning Mr. Olympia, Steve Kuclo, Cedric McMillan, and on the left, the newcomer, Hunter Labrada. Now let's start from the top and work our way down as we critique these physiques. In the arms department, I don't think we can argue at all that Brandon Curry is going to come out on top when it comes to bicep peak, thickness, and development. And you could really make an argument for either one of these 3, Hunter, Cedric, or Steve Kuclo coming out second, third, and fourth for the arms department. Steve Kuclo has more mass in the arms department. but I also like the way that Cedric's arms flow. So for the sake of the video, in the arms, I would rank it Brandon, Hunter, Cedric, and Steve. Moving inwards towards the chest, I think that Brandon is still going to take this one solely on the base that he has more mass and overall development in the chest area. And a close second, in my opinion, I think Cedric would be coming in behind him. His chest does look nice and a lot fuller than the other competitors. Hunter bringing up third place for the chest. I still think he has enough chest mass to put himself in front of Steve. Steve isn't one to have crazy chest development from this shot, in my opinion. So that's how I would rank in the terms of chest development. In the abs department, this is where everything gets wonky. I think Hunter would actually win the overall ab shot if he's able to maintain and keep that ab vacuum looking nice and controlled like he has it in these contest prep photos as he gets ready for Tampa. And obviously Cedric would bring up second place. Brandon, I think, would bring in third solely because he has a more defined midsection and a more mass in the ab department. Not exactly what we always are looking for in the midsection, but as you look at Steve, if you were comparing Brandon to Steve, Steve really doesn't have anything going on in his midsection. It's very watery. There's not a lot of shine there, not a lot of definition. So it's just really not a great shot for Steve when you're looking at chest and midsection. So for abs, I'd put it Hunter, Cedric, Brandon, and Steve. In the quads department, I think that Brandon's going to come out on top. He has more mass. If you really look at his quads compared to the other competitors, I think that Brandon has better quad development and separation. And actually, Hunter is going to come in second. I think that he has a lot of mass. Although you could compare him to Steve, I think they both have almost equal amounts of leg mass and development, but I think that Hunter has just a little bit more separation than Steve does. So obviously Steve being third and Cedric coming in last at fourth. Not to take anything away from Cedric's legs, but they are just a little undersized when you compare them to these other three pro level athletes. From the back, the rear double bicep, starting with the bicep peak, I have it Brandon, Steve, Cedric, Hunter. Brandon obviously has just the peak of the bicep just looks a lot more aesthetically pleasing, and it really does jump out at you a lot more than the other competitors. I think that Steve is going to come in second for the bicep peak, just with muscle mass and maturity. Cedric's overall back package is probably one of my favorites on the page right now, on the screen right now, but the bicep peak is very difficult to see. I don't think he has his elbows pushed forward as much as the other competitors are doing. And Hunter, unfortunately, being the youngest on the stage with the least amount of muscle maturity, the bicep peak is just not really showing a lot in this back double bicep shot. So I would rank this one Brandon, Steve, Cedric, Hunter. Now let's get into the shield, that big, thick, dense back. Traps, lower back, mid back, rhomboids, and rear delts, the whole package. I'm actually going to go out on a limb, and like I said, Cedric is going to come in first, and then Brandon, then Steve, and then Hunter would be fourth. I personally like Cedric's look of a back compared to Brandon's. Obviously, there's going to be a little bit of bias because, not bias, but there is going to be a little bit of controversy because when you look at Brandon's shot here, I looked at the other ones. I thought this one was the best, but the lighting just was not very complementary to the darker skinned athletes. Obviously, Cedric also being a man of color, his package, his overall look did not get affected as much as Brandon's did. And I think, unfortunately, it is what it is, but it is important it is important to point out, and I'd have to give third to Steve, just for muscle density and maturity, especially in the lower back. You can really see where he sets himself apart from Hunter. And I'm going to combine the glutes, hamstrings, and calves into one category for the sake of time because I don't want to bore you. But I would rank this one actually again, Cedric on top. I like his shots. I like the way his physique flows with the lighting, the backdrop, the tan, the bronzer, everything that goes into it. I think that his has a better. I think that his shot, his package that he brought, is better than the reigning Mr. Olympia. So I would rank it Cedric, Hunter, Brandon, and Steve. Again, when it comes down to skin color and backdrop and lighting, you can just see a lot more when it comes to Brandon. I know there's going to be some discrepancies because Hunter's is not a stage photo, but we're playing here. We're pretending we have a lot of different situations and stipulations going on. So let's just keep having some fun. Now in the lat spread, there is no arguing. Brandon is going to win this one. He just has so much mass and density in his lat spread, and also a complementary, small and controlled midsection. Coming in second, I'm going to have Cedric. Personal opinion, I like Cedric's package here with the lat spread. Steve coming in third, muscle maturity and density of the muscle, and Brandon and Hunter coming in fourth. Now, I do like Hunter's package. I do like what he's bringing to the stage, or to the gym in his photos. He does have a nice rear lat spread, but it's kind of difficult to find a way to put his lat spread above other seasoned and more muscularly, wow, how do you even say that? Muscularly mature? I can't wait to see how you guys butcher that in the comments for me. But you know what I mean, right? Muscularly mature? Muscularly? Muscularly? Yeah, whatever. They'll have fun with it. In the side tricep, I'm actually going to have Steve. I really like how Steve does his side tricep shot. Now, obviously, a discrepancy is that this isn't a side tricep. This is a front tricep. And I looked at the two, and I also saw how Brandon and how Cedric do their side/front tricep, and I personally like Steve Kuklow's over the rest. And coming in second, Hunter. I think Hunter has a monster side tricep shot. And coming in third would be Cedric's, and in fourth, Brandon's. Brandon's just, I don't know, just something about it. I'm not a big fan. Although you could make the argument that Brandon has more arm mass than the rest of the guys on the screen right now, but this is my show, and this is how I judge it. Side chest, there really isn't any arguments here. I was almost trying to put Cedric over Brandon, but when you start looking at the glute development, glute separation, and glute size, that really is what kind of drew my eyes to put Brandon over Cedric in this shot. So Brandon, Cedric, Steve, and Hunter. I really liked Steve's way he's doing this shot. He's really opening it up, whereas I guess Brandon and Steve are really opening this shot up to show off the other farther away delt as it pushes into the pec, really pushing everything up and making them look wide and full, whereas Hunter and Cedric, left to right, they kind of keep it back a little reserved. I don't like how Cedric has his head kind of like tucked down. It looks a little weird. I feel like if he just kind of opened it up a little bit, driving his chest upwards, I think it would make the shot look a little bit better. And last but not least, ab and thigh, the front ab and thigh shot. And I'm actually going to rank this one Cedric, Hunter, Steve, and Brandon. I like Cedric's way of really emphasizing the V taper of his physique, the way he has his legs more brought together to emphasize from the elbows down, everything being very aesthetic and tapered as it goes into that very tight and controlled midsection. Some of you might say somewhat watery, but still, I think it's enough to beat the rest of the guys on the screen. Hunter coming in second, just because he has a nice physique. I think he has better conditioning, even though it's not stage shots. I think he has better conditioning than Steve, and Steve having better conditioning in the midsection than Brandon. Also, the lighting is just dog poop for Brandon, unfortunately. But I've already mentioned that a few times, and I feel like I don't need to keep bringing it up as much as I do. And that's my opinion on how Hunter Labrada would place if he was able to, one, win this weekend at the 2020 Tampa Pro, and then compete at this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia. Overall, I still think that Brandon is going to have enough mass to win the 2020 Mr. Olympia. There's not a lot of guys in the U.S. that are going to be able to compete with Brandon's level of size that he's bringing to the stage. There is a very popular and very reasonable argument when it comes to conditioning. A lot of people did not like the package that Brandon brought last year at the 2019 Mr. Olympia. If we're talking about conditioning, as we look at Hunter coming into this 2020 Tampa Pro, it looks like he's going to be bringing in a fantastic package in the terms of conditioning and vascularity. So it wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for Hunter to sneak into this top four. There is going to be a lot of big hitters, a lot of guys with a lot of mass and a lot of experience that are still going to be at this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia. Like I mentioned earlier, Dexter Jackson could potentially bring a good package. I know he's been talking about keeping his midsection controlled and kind of experimenting with some, and I don't want to say antibiotics, but maybe probiotics. I'm not sure what exactly he's doing. But if Dexter's able to control that midsection and fight off Father Time and bring another fantastic package to the Mr. Olympia, there's definitely a chance that Dexter could stay in the top 6 this year. Also, Akeem Williams, Patrick Moore, and Juan Morel are also some big hitters that are U.S. citizens, so they will, no matter what, unless they drop out for sickness, they will be at this year's Mr. Olympia, and I do expect them to place well. Now, that is the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of fun to play around with potential placings if some crazy situations were to unfold at this year's 2020 Mr. Olympia. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and comment what you guys enjoyed about it. If you guys enjoyed me in general talking about bodybuilding news today, consider subscribing. And as always, if you guys want to support me, the best way you can do that right now is to go to goldeneranutrition.com and use my sponsored athlete code SANCH15 at checkout. And that'll do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.